There we go. And so this is the critique night for the Ottawa Photography Meetup Group, and these images were just general images that people submitted. They're not necessarily from meetups throughout. Now, critique nights are kind of interesting because I'm open to have other people provide feedback and input as we go along. I'll be sort of offering some of my guidance and input as we go. But critique is really nothing more than someone else's opinion. So, don't take anything personally. Sometimes the maker wants to do something and someone else sees something else in the photo. So it's a question of, what do you think the maker was trying to do? And these photos are, a wide variety of images, some portraits, some landscapes, some still life, some travel photography, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of good stuff here, and we're just going to be taking a quick look at each of them. As I go through them, I'll be providing my own sort of take on sort of what I think you were trying to do and how this photo might be improved. In a number of cases, I've actually gone through and created some adjustments to the photo using Lightroom. So I never went into Photoshop for any of these. Whoops, I went a little too fast. So I've made some slight adjustments to them to just try to illustrate a point. This is not a Lightroom tutorial class. You're not going to be sort of learning a lot of Lightroom. You'll see how I do things, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining the details of what I'm doing. Certainly we'll have other Lightroom tutorials as we go along. But some really nice work here, and so what we'll try to do is step through these one at a time, and hopefully we'll learn along the way. So, all right. So I'm not going to identify the maker, but if the maker is online and wants to provide a little bit of input and insight, then by all means, they're more than welcome to comment on their own photos. Other people would rather remain anonymous. That's fine too. So I'm not going to force anybody to say anything. And so let's see, I'm just going to close this. And so you've got the maximum amount of space on the screen here. All right, so I hear some stuff here. I can't hear you, Mike. I hear him well. All good. Okay, so things have been resolved. Your resolution is poor. Maybe turn off your camera. Okay, is the resolution poor for everybody?
No. Looks okay here.
Looks okay. All right. So this is a little portrait, and I will get my face out of there. That way you've got a little bit more to work with. So lovely portrait. I mean, it's dramatic. The eyes pop. It's really, really wonderful because the blue contrasts with the red and the green in the background. So the picture really, really sort of resonates. When I looked at it, I thought to myself, gee, is it possible that this photo could be enhanced? And I looked at various ways to do things. One of my thoughts was to perhaps take this photo and, whoops, I'll do that. And F8, and I thought, well, what if I crop it a little bit and I kind of make it a little bit more sort of focus in on the face. And when I did that, I said, you know what? Now the photo becomes about the eyes. It's no longer the person. The person kind of becomes the canvas, and the eyes become the subject. So if I go back to the original, I think I like it the way it is. Then it becomes more about the girl, and it's her and a bit of a personality. She's got a little bit of a, not quite a smile, but not quite a frown. She's got this Mona Lisa look type of thing. So anyways, so an excellent photo. Normally they try to put things in sort of, the rule of thirds type thing, but if you look, her face is really on one of the lines, which is one of the thirds. So in fact, this ends up becoming a really, really nice competition, and it's very, very positive. So kudos to the maker. If anybody wants to jump in and speak to the photo.
That's mine, Debbie.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, and that was from the meetup that we did at Hog's Back.
Ah, yes, I remember her now. Oh, Melanie's little girl. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Now I recognize her. Well, superb job. Well done.
I have a quick question, Neil. Yeah,
Yeah,
has the skin been edited at all?
I can't talk to that. Debbie,
I didn't hear the question.
was any photo, any post processing on the skin, any retouching?
Um, no, but I did reduce
The clarity and the texture?
the clarity.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So I made her a little fuzzy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I often do that with skin texture as well. So,
'Cause
And
it
I
seems
think
to
I
be
increased
it lost
either.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, it seems to have lost some skin texture.
yeah,
Is that on purpose or is it
yeah.
yeah,
okay?
yeah. No, so, but I mean, the emphasis is on the eyes and not the skin. So, you know, okay, let's move forward. So here is a really nice, I guess, flower captured in ice after an ice storm or something like that. And the overall picture has got a really nice texture as well. So you know, it was given a bit of a little bit of sort of painterly look. What's really nice is we tend to read, right to left in, in North America, and so the stem coming in the way it does is just takes my eye from the big bottom left of the picture right into the flower. So there's some nice detail, etc., in the flower here. I wasn't sure whether this little branch thing here that is there is appropriate. I tried taking it out and just it seemed, and I just did a very quick job here. I didn't spend a lot of time on these. So as a quick, do you want it in or do you want it out? Obviously, if you're going to take it out, you do a better job than I did. But it's just one of those questions that you ask yourself as you're doing a photo. Is everything there that I want? Is there any distractions on the edges? Is there anything that's taking away from the picture itself? So, but you decide whether you like that in or out. Other than that, I don't think I did anything special to the image. Let me just do F8 slash, and I'm just looking to see if I did anything. No, all the sliders are still where they were, so I didn't try to bring any extra texture or extra clarity in there. It looks like it's sharp. It looks like it's well handled. Composition is a very nice formal composition. So it's not trying to push it off to the side or anything like that. It's kind of centered type of element, and it's a vertical shot, and vertical tends to be dramatic. Things that are landscape tend to be soft and restful. Things that go up and down tend to have a little bit more impact. So having chosen a vertical shot, I think makes this for a really nice one. Is any comments from the maker on this one? Okay, we'll just move forward. All right, so here's kind of a young lady, and she looks like she's shouting or dancing or singing or doing something. The earphones kind of tell a bit of a story. The person pops out from the background a whole lot, so it's really about sort of the person here, because the background contrasts with the person as much. I played a little bit with the concept of, well, what happens if I change the background to a red background? And now all of a sudden, and the reds should match a little bit better, but now all of a sudden her face pops out, like she kind of all disappears and the face pops out. So this is the kind of thing that when I'm playing with pictures, I try to experiment and try to see, what is it that I want to project? What is it that I want to be able to say? So, don't be afraid to experiment with your images. It takes moments to just try one thing or another once you know the products and the tools. These types of changes, they just a few moments to try to get things done. So the sharpness is not as great as I would like. So really make sure you're focusing on the eyes, especially when you're dealing with people. But other than that, I mean, for social media or whatever, it's plenty sharp. There's no issues with that, and if you want to bring attention to something like the headphones or whatever when you're posing somebody, if this isn't candid, then have her hold the headphones or have her do something with it. If she's looking down at a headphone or if she's holding something, your viewer's eye will go to what the subject is doing. So okay, the maker, any comments? All right.
Mike, how
Yep.
did you change the background of this to red? Like,
I just selected it, right? So I
oh,
just did something like select, whoops, whoops. So I just selected the background and you just say create, select background, and it goes ahead and selects the background. Once you've selected the background, then you could do something like, whoops, I'm going to get rid of that one. And I can do whatever I want with it,
okay,
right? Once I've selected it, I can give it a tint.
got it.
Right, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on these types of things.
Yeah,
We'll just, if it's super quick, I don't mind explaining it. And,
thank you.
oops, and there we go. Okay, a beautiful still life. So obviously the subject here is the oranges. Or is the subject also include the cutting board? So I wasn't quite sure. So the light's obviously coming in from the right hand side, and you can see it on the background. It sort of really falls off, and I found that it fell off maybe a little too much for me. So maybe a reflector. When you're taking the photo on the left hand side, throw a little bit of light back because this whole area on the left is gets a little bit dark. Um, other things that try to catch your interest. So there's this one little one that's off to the side, which is kind of interesting. So it kind of separates from the pack. So this becomes an area of interest. I mean, if that one had been cut open or something, maybe more of the interest would be down here because it would be different from all of the others. Not just different in terms of its position, but different in terms of its presentation. So when you're doing still life, play with that a little bit. It's straight on top going down, so it's a very, very formal composition from that perspective. There's no there's no angles or dimension or anything like that. When I played with this one, I tried to see if maybe I could put a little bit more light on the left hand side, and then I softened the board. So now the oranges really tend to be the thing that's crisp, and the board got a little softer. So there's no right, there's no wrong. I don't know what the maker was trying to do. It's a question of being thoughtful as you present your images and thinking, what is it that I want people to look at? The purpose of composition, the purpose of creating an image is to tell a story to your viewer and guide their eye into the picture. So where do you want the person to look? Do you want them to look at the group of oranges? Do you want them to look at the one in the bottom right? Do you want them to look at the overall board? So what is it that you want the viewer to see? What is it the image that you want to present? And not have them just look at everything unless the whole picture, the whole canvas tells a story. So these are the types of things that you want to be able to look at. The oranges are nice and sharp, so certainly did a good job in capturing the detail. Certainly when the picture was taken, there was enough depth of field here that there was a lot of texture on the cutting board, but you see the cut marks and whatnot on the board. And in my mind, I kind of went, gee, are the cut marks on the board and that texture important? And so that's why I kind of went to a softer sort of cutting board. And again, I just selected the oranges and selected everything but the oranges and just softened everything in the background. This is all I did. And I just added a graduating filter on the left-hand side to just add more light or take more light away from this side. So comments from the maker? Something else you want to add?
Mike, this
Yeah,
is my picture
yeah.
from Kofa.
Hi.
Okay, my idea at this one was I appreciate your comments, very good to me. And this one, I particularly want to say chaos. Okay, but our chaos there is order.
Mm-hmm.
So that instead of making the oranges in a triangle, I'm making those a little bit rectangular and then on the side.
Yeah.
And then I'll arrange them all towards on the top. and
Yep.
then all of them are stacked geometrically. The one on 3 on 5, and then one on 3 on 1.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I try to create a idea of out of chaos, seemingly chaos, but there is order.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so maybe I'm totally lost because because the board is too detailed, because that to me is also another chaos. I'm thinking
Yeah.
outside.
Good
Okay,
point. Yeah.
but I appreciate your comment that I should have emphasize more on the oranges than okay, just try everything at the same time.
Well, just food for thought. But I mean, see, like I wasn't seeing chaos and order, so that wasn't coming across to me. So that's
So that
it's
means
worth knowing.
I still not again have the skill to emphasize the thing I want to do.
No problem.
Thank
We're
you.
we're all learning all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so something by a pool here, and what I really like was there's this sort of these curves, these concentric curves. There's the curve of the pool, the curve of the first set of chairs, the curve of the next set of chairs. So there's a pattern going on here. It's an unusual color. I mean, these people that are in the photo are blue, and I'm sitting there going, "Is it that cold of a day? I don't know." Like, but in any case, the thing that was kind of interesting was the patterns to me. But the people break the pattern. So your eye goes to this person and goes to that person, but then my eye starts to find this person at the top, and I'm going, "Oh, well, I don't think they were meant to be part of the composition." And then the top here at the pool is this little, I don't know, hot tub or whatever that thing is, waiting pool near the top. So I was looking more for I cropped some of that stuff out, and in that way that person disappeared, this funny stuff at the top disappeared, and then I was left with something that I think was a little bit stronger in my mind. So I'm just looking to see if there's, I think I punched up the color a little bit. I was finding it a little bit washed out. So I just kind of did a little bit more on the contrast, played with the darks, the shadows, the clarity a little bit. So this picture actually has it's actually very small. No, it's not too bad. Some of them I got, by the way, were really, really teeny. So when I'm seeing them, I'm actually having to enlarge them significantly. But this one's not too bad. So, but there's an overall texture throughout the whole thing. Let me just see. This was taken. I don't have any details in terms of what ISO or etc. this was taken at. But there's this kind of noise type thing that's going on.
It's film.
Yeah, it's film. Okay, what ISO film was it?
It's well, actually, I don't know, but it's turquoise film.
It's
So
turquoise.
especially, it's called film soup, if you will.
Ah.
So it's going to have a turquoise hue to it on everything that, um, like the palm trees were turquoise. The sky was
Okay.
purple. It's
Interesting.
yeah.
It's not
Beach
what I'm
was
familiar with. I've seen infrared type stuff which everything takes on a hue based on heat, but this is one I
Yeah.
haven't seen before.
Yeah, no, I actually waited like 6 months for it to come from Europe. Took a long time, but thank you for the cropping at the top. I really appreciate that because that actually added a lot to it. I wasn't quite certain what to do it, but with film you are kind of limited as far as doing much, and it is a small picture to begin with. You have to, I would have to enlarge it as a TIFF and go crazy at just scanning it in the first place.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it now, I'm looking at this white thing in the far right, and I'm not sure if I'm better off taking that out because I'm not destroying any of the pattern. And, and I have that little bit. So, anyways, these are just the whole point of these types of exercises is for you to see how other people treat things and to get a sense for the art of the possible, and some of you will also see that there's a fair amount that you can do just in Lightroom without having to do a whole lot. So
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. So here's a nice little landscape. Your eye flows from the bottom left into the picture, and it just flows into the mouth of the river here. There's nothing there to capture my eye, so you know, if had there been a boat or somebody standing on a bank right about here somewhere, that would have been kind of neat. But you know, what the heck. Other than that, I mean, the sky's kind of dramatic, but I think the emphasis is supposed to be on the water. So I'm trying to figure out where we want to go. There's a lot of turbulence here, and I guess it's stirring up some muck, and it's getting a little bit yellowy. So I wasn't sure. There's some nice blue in the sky. There's some blue in the water on the left, but this stuff was a little bit yellowy here, and I kind of went, well, that's too bad. But the froth on the water is kind of nice. You got some nice white on the left, but there isn't enough white on the right hand side. The exposure is well handled. You look, so there's just enough detail in the snow here. Whoops, that was way too close. How big is this one? Where's my 100%? Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, so yeah, there's just a little bit of texture in the snow here, so I didn't have a problem with the exposure. And sometimes it's hard to get exposure in things like the rock and the sky at the same time. So overall composition's good. The picture, sort of in terms of cropping, there's a bit of a road happening over here. I think I'd like to take that road and straighten it. Other than that, I did a little bit of changing of the color here. I went and I selected the color yellow, and yes, that was probably too much. There we go. So I'm selecting a little bit of the yellow, and then I'm turning around and I'm changing the color and so on, so I can do some stuff like desaturate that stuff, get some of that yellow out of there, and maybe put some blue back in or something like that. So I played with this a little bit. I didn't spend a lot of time. I want blue. Anyways, so I went ahead and I started playing with it, and so this is kind of what I came up with in terms of a look. So I ended up cropping a little bit of the sky. I took some of the yellow out of the water, and I brushed some of the white waves to give the white waves more of an impact, so that my eye follows the white waves crests, you know, towards a brighter area. And I think I painted the whites on the waves, and I changed the color, and then I ended up doing changing the crop a little bit as well. I took a little bit off the top and tried to keep the proportions a little bit. So anyways, it's just some possible approaches. Again, it's all subjective. It's really up to the maker. There is no right or wrong. There's not even a right exposure or bad exposure. I mean, sometimes you'll see some of these things where, you know, I struggled. I says, you know, is he trying to make this a night scene, or is this trying to be an evening scene? So anyways, comments on this one?
Well, it's my photo, so it's Darren here.
Hi, Darren.
I struggled with that yellow. I didn't know what to do with it. When I was there live, the color seemed to just added depth to it. So that's why I was hesitant about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once I saw the photos, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep it. So I really love what you did with it. I never thought of the highlights tracing into the far corner. I never did that before, so I'll have to remember that technique.
Yeah, and you can tell I splashed it on there. I really didn't spend a lot of time. Right? I just splashed it on there.
Guide the eyes into that corner.
Yeah,
so
that's the whole question is you know, how am I going to guide the viewer to look at what I want them to look at? So that's the name of the game. Okay, a sort of a nice candid here. The composition is, you know, your eye immediately goes to the people. There's no question what the subject is. There's no ambiguity. The people are wearing a lot of nice colors, so that it attracts your eye right off the bat. And it tells a story. You can tell what they're doing. They're enjoying themselves. They're playing around, looking for some fish. There's nobody holding a fish or whatever, so I don't know if they're biting or not. But anyways, no distractions. I mean, there's no boats in the water or whatever. There's little bits of things floating around in the water there, but nothing that really catches my eye. The emphasis on the people. The sky's a little bit bland, so you know, could we crop this a little bit and sort of, you know, make it a little bit more about the people, maybe take a little bit off the side there. So, I mean, you got to decide whether or not that's something you want to do. I don't know if I spent a lot of time on this one. Oh yeah, I gave the sky a little bit more blue and took some of the blue out of the water again. I guess I was influenced by the last picture. But I mean, you know, this just, it gives it a different mood, and that may not be the mood that the user or maker wanted, but just trying to demonstrate some technique and show people sort of, you know, what can be done here. Any comments from the maker? Okay. So this is one of those fun pictures. What I really liked was, you know, the maker saw something. You know, it's this type of thing you just walk right by without even paying attention to it. But, you know, they saw something, and what I liked is the top one is kind of connected to the bottom one. So they're not just two separate things. It's not a pattern. There's an element of repetition, and the bottom one doesn't go out of the frame. It's contained. So I really like the competition, competition, the composition. The overall image is really nice. Oh, this is a small one. So if I want to, come on, get over there. It's not going to behave. All right, whoops, that's too much. No, I don't want to do that. So what I'm trying to do is get in here just to see how sharp that stuff is, and I didn't think it was super sharp. I'm having a hard time getting this. So there's it might just not be big enough. So anyways, I tried to apply a little bit of sharpen to this, a little bit of dehaze, etc. And I tried also playing with black and white, just another sort of example of, you know, it's mostly pattern, it's mostly texture. Does the color do anything for you? So experiment, you know, just see what you like to do. And I mean, once it is black and white, there's no reason why you can't go back and give it, you know, a little bit of color yourself. Come on. And you can, you know, give the whole thing a color of various types, and you can play with it and do whatever you want. But you don't necessarily have to accept just the color that was given to you by Mother Nature. So it's just a matter of being aware that you can play with this a couple of different ways. So that's the before image as it was given to us, and I think you'll see a little bit more contrast in the ice, a little bit more texture in the ice, and then the color is whatever you want it to be. So I can just get rid of the color altogether, or not make it black and white and revert it to its original color. So, you know, I didn't really want to do much to this one. I kind of liked it. There's this little drop coming over there, and I think that fills in some of the blank space. I don't know that I tried getting rid of it. We could. But it seems to me that that type of thing just, I don't know. Do we like the negative space? Do we not like the negative space? You guys have to decide, right? So do you want to start getting rid of these types of things? Comments from the maker? Spontaneous burst of silence. Okay, let's keep moving. All right. Lovely nature shot. So, I mean, subject really pops, and there's nothing distracting behind the subject. So these little branches that are over here are sort of off to the side, and they're actually filling in some negative space, and they're giving a little bit of repetition and pattern, and they're giving us a little bit of what I would call the habitat of the bird. So and the bird looks really crisp, really sharp. I'm looking to see if I could do I don't know how. Yeah, so that the feathers and everything are really crystal clear. So so the maker did a really good job. The color tone is kind of like a little on the dark side, sort of in the background. Don't know if they wanted it that dark or it was just the way it was, and that I don't see a catchlight in the eye, so I don't know if the bird sort of was illuminated by flash or whatever. Comments from the maker here? Oh yes, okay. But the only thing I did, I'm looking at the before and after here, is there was this little branch over here, which is kind of interesting. It kind of mimics the tail. So, you know, one might say it's okay, but then there's this other little dark spot right by the edges. Check the edges of your photos. Usually what happens is if there's something close to the edge, it can be a distraction. So you know, you can either crop it out if you want to do some cropping and bring it in, or in my particular case, I just did a cloning, and just to remove that on the far right hand side. So, but I left everything else alone here, and it works. It's a lovely picture. Some people will actually suggest that you put a catchlight in the bird's eye, and well, I mean, there's a question as to how far you want to go with that kind of stuff. Hello. No, that's not going to work. Okay, let's try it with a brush. I can actually see a little bit of catchlight there. And so, oops, reset. Come on, white. Where's my white? There we go. And I don't see that it made a whole lot of difference. That's a whole lot of... And white. And that's too much, and I'm just going to bring it down. And so I just want a little bit of a catchlight in the eye, and some people really think that's important. You know, nature photographers and CAPA judges and whatnot look for that kind of stuff. I'm not so fussy. I mean, people get very upset in camera club competitions with some various details, but anyways, it was just something else to look at. But it's one of those shots that I go, gee, I wish I'd taken that. Comments from the maker on this one? All right. Okay. Now, this is kind of one of those fun grab shots. It tells a story. You know, she's reacting almost like, you know, he was licking her or touched her with her nose or something like that. She's got a humorous look on her face. The dog's eyes are looking up at her, and you know, our eyes, we talk about leading lines. So her hand is a leading line that kind of just points up towards her face a little bit. The dog's positioning points up towards her face. The dog's eyes tend to be looking that way, and so we tend to follow the eyes of other people. So those are all leading lines, and so everything points us to her face. So the emphasis is on her face. There's some distractions I see in terms of her dress because the whole thing is sharp, and so there's some wrinkles and stuff. I think all I did is I softened some wrinkles on her dress, and you know, just brightened up her face just a hint. So there's a glow around her face, and there's a softening of her dress, and it looks like it softened some of the dog's face and other things as well. But again, I was just going very quick to see what I could do. So comments from the maker here?
No, you nailed it. It was a quick shot.
Yeah. And like when you have to take those quick shots to get the exposure, the composition, and everything just the way you got it, you know, outstanding. Did you actually end up cropping this, or this pretty much as it was in camera?
That's pretty much as it was in camera.
Super, yeah. So here's another little thing for portraiture, is if you crop off someone's head and you bring their eyes closer to the top of the frame, it makes the eyes more dramatic. It puts the tension on the eyes. Our eyes go around the subject if the top of the head is included in the photo, and our eyes go straight to the face and stop there because your eyes can't go around the head if the top of the head's chopped off. So that's an interesting little technique that some portrait photographers use deliberately.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
No problem. All right.
Mike,
Yes.
oh, I was just gonna ask what if you cropped it
Yeah.
right where the line is on her, like got rid of half of the bottom.
Say when.
When?
All right. Yeah. Yeah. It certainly puts all the attention on her face, and you. It's up to the maker, right? My question is this telling the same story about what the dog just did? Like the way I see this, the dog's just doing something specific, and this way the
Yeah,
dog
I
could
like the
just be
pause in there.
posing. Sorry?
I like the pause in there. I like the whole body of the action
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all in the eye of the maker. But the interesting thing is, it's worth exploring. You ask the question: what if I cropped it? What if I did this? What if I did that? And in Lightroom, it's super easy to take an image and just right click, create a virtual copy. So now you have two of them, and then you can kind of just uncrop one and actually put them side by side if you want, and then give yourself a sense of which one do I like, type of thing. So play with your pictures. Like your artistic styling does not stop when you go click. There's so much more. I remember, like everyone says, get it right in camera, and I agree. You get it right in camera. You don't fix mistakes in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever. But these are tools for artistic expression, and if somebody says to me, I never edit my photos, my thought is, well, why are you only doing half the job? Because the job doesn't stop until you present the image, and you haven't chosen how to present it. You just took the photo. So here the emphasis seems to be on the bird. So it's crisp, it's sharp. The hand looks like it's a little bit overexposed. So if we darken it a little bit, then I think we can just get we can get a little bit more. Just take some of the highlights down, and that's increasing the emphasis on the bird a little bit more. So I'm looking at the sleeve, and there's a fair amount of the picture that's taken up with the sleeve, and the emphasis is the bird and the food, or lack of food. I'm not sure what the heck's in that hand. So I'm tempted to just take some of that out of there and put the bird in a tight quadrant, and now the emphasis is the sleeve just tends to be less of an emphasis now, and now we're left with the bird and the exposure on the hand. The hand looks like an elderly person. If you want to be kind, you can do a little bit of the texture, sort of reduce the texture and so on, but I don't want to remove the texture on everything. So I'll probably end up selecting the hand and doing something like that, and you can do it fairly quickly if you want. Just oops, not linear gradient. I'll just do a radial gradient and just like select the hand, intersect that, go away, intersect that with a color range, something like that, wherever that was. And yeah, that should be about there. And now I can take that hand and just reduce some of the texture and some of the whatever on there. So but I'm just targeting the hand right now, right? I can do whatever I want with it, but all I'm doing is softening some of the wrinkles or whatever. So anyways, I mean, it's a question of what you want. Is the texture of the hand important? I just take away the mask, and I don't see that much of a difference. A little bit, but it's a question of where you want the emphasis to be. But I think I'm happy with the sleeve gone. Any comments from the maker here? So I played with this one a little bit. Oh yeah, I put a little bit more texture on the bird, a little bit, and I removed some of the sleeve and just toned down the hand. So, all right, a urban landscape we all recognize. That looks very good. Certainly leading lines here. Your eye kind of starts at the bottom because of the way the picture is structured, and you notice this person walking on the bridge, and you go, okay. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the person is certainly grabs your attention because that your eye enters the photo this way and sees the photo, and then kind of just follows the line up to see the rest of the photo and the sky and so on and so forth. So certainly there's some strong composition here, some very strong leading lines. I'm not very happy with the gutter on the far right hand side here, so I'd be tempted to kind of crop that out or sort of remove it. I don't think you want to clone it. You probably just want to crop that out. Maybe even want to straighten the photo a little bit. I don't know how nice the lines are here. Maybe just bring it just a touch more. So something along those lines. Anyways, I mean, you can play with it. I don't think I did a whole lot with this one, but it's got a nice vantage point. You're looking down on the canal. I'm not even sure where this person was, whether it was a drone shot or not. They're fairly high up, which makes it for an interesting shot. Oh, and I warmed it up a little bit. Yeah, I was just playing with some color toning. So that's, again, the eyes of the eye of the maker. You decide what you want, but it kind of just, I was seeing if I could give it a little bit more punch, sort of make it into a nice bright sunny day as opposed to probably late afternoon shot with the sun starting to go down. So, comments from someone? No? Okay. All right. Kind of a portrait type thing, situation portrait, that type of thing. Lots of texture here. Love the mood. I mean, it's got this kind of ethereal type of thing to it. Everything's barren except for a handful of trees in the distance there. The person seems to be looking in that general direction, so your eye actually then goes over to that tree and takes a look at it. If you look at your rule of thirds, I mean, like everything of interest is on the bottom third line, and then everything at the top is kind of gone. A powerful image, very nice. If you look at a little bit more detail, you'll see it's raining. There's a little bit of water drops, falling in the water. So yeah, the positioning of the person, where they're standing, everything kind of really falls into place. Comments from the maker on this one?
That would be me. It's
Yeah.
Pavey. I was looking for a real somber mood in this
Yeah.
picture, so you kind of got it on the nail on the head there when you said that. So I think the challenge I seem to always have is when it's at the top half of the sky when there's nothing there. I don't really know what to do with it. So
Yeah.
you can see that I must have underexposed the top part of it.
Yeah.
But if you have any suggestions for that, that would be helpful.
Well, this was the way, this is the before shot, and the only thing I thought of doing it is I did darken the sky even more, so I just, trying to put the emphasis down in the bottom third, and the rocks where the person's standing on the bottom left, I darkened those rocks as well, so he, I assume, is so because your eye goes to the lightest part of the image generally. So this wash of white rock in the bottom left, I thought it might be nice to darken, and I also softened it too, if I'm not mistaken. I think. So what I did is
the rain seems to appear more, so it makes it a little bit more somber there.
as well, yeah. And so and I think I brought the texture and the clarity down on these rocks as well. So if you take that away, you kind of see the before and after type of thing. And then the overall image, I brought clarity up on the overall image, and I don't know if I did anything else. I thought At one point in time, I played with looking
I'm
at.
just noticing the detail in the jacket too. I don't know if that was there before, but I really like it like that.
Yeah, well, that's because the overall texture is increased. So I was looking at. Yeah, so I'm playing with saturation here, and I'm seeing if I can bring out some color in that those. There's some color, the green and red in the rocks there. So I was looking to see if I could bring that out a little bit, but I can bring it out a little bit, not too much, but that just puts a little splash of color there.
Yep.
So here's kind of a before and after.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
it's just and these are just ideas. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot has to do with what's the subject, what's the person looking at.
Mhm.
Okay. Another panorama type, travel type shot. This tree was kind of intriguing, but then these foreground images are kind of neat too. So I'm not sure where the photographer was trying to focus. The sky's a little on the bland side, and you get days like that. The whole business of sky replacement, whatnot's a Photoshop tutorial, and I think that would somewhat take away from the image as well. So I'm not sure where the photographer was going. If this is the emphasis, then you might want to crop some of the stuff off the side. And there's also that fence in the background that's in the right hand line, so you maybe get a little bit more of that type of thing. I don't know if what I mean. That puts this tree definitely more into its center element, and you can give it a little bit more texture and clarity. And if you're, it's giving it to me to the sky as well, and I probably don't need that. So I can probably do something like find the subject and then just put the clarity on the subject. Lord knows what Lightroom thinks the subject is. And it found that tree. Wow, look at that. So, and we can just put more texture on the tree and a little bit more clarity on that tree, and it's just put the emphasis on what it is that you want. So you just get separation from your background and make sure that the eye just gravitates to what it is that you want the viewer to see. Comments from the maker on this one? Okay, so here's another crop that I tried, and all I was doing was eliminating the some of that excess fence. I left this because I thought it might be important, and in this particular case, I sharpened everything except for the sky. So the emphasis was no longer just the tree, but all the flora. So you got to decide what it is that you want people to look at and where you want the emphasis to go. Your eye will go to a sharp, bright area or a contrasty area. If everything's bright, it'll go to the dark area if the negative space is all white. So this is an interesting one. It's a technique called trichrome. The user will create an image with 3 images on a tripod and with different filters, a red, blue, green filter, and then superimpose them. So if whatever moved will either be red or blue or green, depending on what moved. So it's an intriguing technique. And comments from the viewer, what you were trying to do here?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've actually since worked on this photo because I forgot about clipping masks. And so on one of the layers, I brightened one of the, and it made the sky bluer.
Okay.
Because when you're working with 3 layers in trichrome, you're trying to fiddle with, like, if you don't get it perfect out of camera, and which is kind of hard because again, this is actually medium format Pentax camera I used, black and white film, as you said, red, green, blue filters on front, and bringing it into Photoshop and then trying to create something that looks like a natural scene.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but what I liked most about this and what my subject matter is the water and the fact that it's different colors.
Yeah, so in the original, I didn't originally see these boats in the bottom left, bottom right, I should say. When I started playing with clarity and bringing putting the whites whiter and the darks darker, they popped out of the water for me. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's good or bad. If they're a distraction, then you don't want them. But anyways, I mean, I was playing with that. Yeah, we could certainly play. Look at selecting the sky, and once we've got the sky selected, we can give it a little bit of a blue or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's no
That's
texture.
kind of what I
There's
came out with.
Yeah, there's no texture or detail there, so it's
No.
still a little tricky. But I mean, this is a rather exceptional technique, and you don't want a quote normal looking sky, right? So
Fair.
yeah, so that's the thing. The other thing that happened in this particular instance is you had a lot of birds flying around, and as they
Yes.
as they show up in one color or another, and it's if you want the attention to be the water, I find a lot of these little colored dots here a little distracting. I'd probably go back and do a little bit of just clean up some of the really whoops.
Yeah. That's an attention to detail you have there, Mike, because I never even noticed those, and I took the picture.
But it's the type of thing that you wouldn't see this until you composited it. Right? I mean, you'd see, birds in photo 1, birds in photo 2, birds in photo 3, and it's not obvious that they're it's not obvious that they're so I just got rid of some of them, but there's still quite a few there that pop out. And so all I'm saying is if the water is the attention, make sure the viewer notices the water and isn't distracted by other things. That's and if the water is the attention, I mean, like what happens if
Oh yeah, you would have done that? Okay.
well, I'm just there's this boat that's here, which I don't want to do
Yeah.
that, but now all of a sudden this waterfall kind of has leading lines cascading downwards. Whoops, I'm
Yeah.
using a tablet here, and now I'm left with nothing but the
Interesting.
water
Okay.
to look at. Anyways, play. That's what we're doing. So what I don't like
course.
here is that bridge kind of sort of showing up. So but I don't want to crop off the top of the waterfall. So anyways, I mean it's a matter of playing with options.
I agree with you. I think I might keep the bridge. I might go to the skyline where it meets the landscape horizon, just because
Yeah.
the bridge is part of water, right?
Yeah.
And then you do have the whole waterfall showing whites
Yeah.
there.
So,
I think that's a good crop right there. I
So-
like that.
all right. So experimentation.
Of course. Thank you.
Anytime. Another nice moody shot. So somebody's out, and it looks like the boat's docked. I think this is shoreline, and this is water, and it's like you got to look at it carefully. This is one of those that I think was on a little bit on the small side. Where's the 100% mark? That's not too bad actually. But when I come in really close, it looks very pixelated. So something happened here. I'm not sure what the lots of JPEG artifacts. So it may be saved as a low quality JPEG. I'm not sure. Anyways, the overall mood is wonderful. I mean, there's a leading line that just brings your eye to the boat. This person is in dark outfit and contrasting to the light water behind him. Sorry, I just realized that I had left some of my edits on there, but this person's very dark, and the boat contrasted nicely as well. So this was the overall initial image, and it was very painterly type. And I kind of I showed you what I was trying to do with as I played with different type of more tones, very moody tone, and I tried with a pure black and white because there were so many nice textures here. I thought maybe is black and white the way to go? Do I put some of the original mood or tone back in here, or do I just play with the original color? So here I kind of softened the sky, but I put more texture in the ground because I really liked the fact that there was some nice texture in the sand and stuff. So play with it. Here, I just realized as I'm looking at it for the second time, and that's another technique, by the way. When you think you've edited a photo, when you think you're done, go away, have a coffee, do something, come back and look at it again. And you'll see things you didn't see the first time. So I'm noticing the white motor here is a little bit distracting, and I don't know if I want to. I wouldn't want to get rid of it. It's part of the story, but I might change the tone or color on the motor a little bit. Select object, and see if I can do something with it. Maybe just darken it a little bit or whatever. Just so it doesn't really catch my eye. It doesn't pop. Maybe even give it a little bit of the color of the water. Give it this kind of a color type of thing. So there's the on and off with that little off-board motor, just changing it from white to a slightly darker color, and I can reduce the impact. So anyways, I love playing with it's such a powerful image. You can play with it and play with it and play with it. So try a number of different dimensions or styles. I don't think I'd crop it or anything. The sky, there's something in the sky there. There's a little bit of texture in the clouds, the moodiness type of thing, and the contrast of the softness of the clouds with the texture of the sand looks kind of interesting. I also just noticed another set of leading lines, like these footprints going to the boat, which I hadn't even noticed before. Were they as obvious before? Okay, when I added more texture, those extra footprints kind of jumped out a little bit more. So this is the original, and this is a little extra texture, a little bit extra saturation. I don't tend to use a lot of saturation. I tend to use a lot of vibrance, and actually brought the saturation down. So vibrance is what I'll call smarter saturation. The colors that are saturated don't get saturated as much. The ones that need saturation get added. Saturation just magnifies saturation on everything. Vibrance only saturates the things that need it the most. Comments on the maker on this one? Okay. All right, travel image or vacation image or just a standard weekend image, but obviously like telling a story of people having fun, going down the mountain, you get the immediate sense of what's going on. Whoops, sorry. And you get a sense of locale. They're in the mountains, they're skiing, they're doing stuff. So it's got a lot of impact. It's telling a story. It's kind of neat. I like that in the foreground there's this person who seems to be taking a photo with his phone. So it's kind of like I'm taking a photo of someone taking a photo. So there's a lot of little elements here that I really like. It's got that not dramatic type thing with mountains, going up and down in a vertical shot. It's more of a landscape, so it gives it a little bit more of a peaceful type of look. Orange and reds pop up just as much as bright colors do. So your eye goes to the bright spot, and then all of a sudden you see this red and orange down here. But this pole on the far left-hand side, kind of like this orangey pole, kind of went, I don't need that. I think I can crop that out a little bit just without losing any part of the story. And that keeps the whole thing in. If you want the emphasis to be on the people, then you probably want this bottom area to be a little bit brighter. If you want the mountains to be very important, and it's kind of like it's the locale and the location and being in the mountains, and it's not what the people are doing, but it's more of the location, then I'd probably want more texture or detail in the mountains. Right now they're in the distance and they're a little foggy or whatever. Whoops, I keep tapping my tablet, by the way, and that's why it just zooms in there. Comments from the maker on this one? What were you trying to get across?
Yes, Lauren here. I was just trying to capture it's a touristic place.
Yeah.
And the mixture of like the buildings down there and the people, and
okay.
But also the location with the lake and the mountains.
Okay, yeah. So this is a different mood altogether here, right? I mean, I've kind of turned it into a little bit more of a sunset shot, and he's taking a picture of the sunset, and I brightened the people so they pop out of the picture a little bit more. Okay, but the emphasis is completely different. So I'm playing with options, and I also did something. I highlighted the sky and played with it. I highlighted the mountains and did something separate with that, and I highlighted the people and did something with that. So I have 3 different masks: foreground, midground, and background, and I can do different things with each one. So I can play with the sky, separately from the mountains. And these are just brush strokes. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot to I didn't do a whole lot to select the mountains. I just did a quick white through the center of the picture with a brush, and then now I've got the stuff at the bottom, and I can play with the bottom and make it a lot brighter, a little bit somber. So anyways, I was just trying to see how I could play with the different dimensions, but you did a great job giving us a good foreground, a middle ground, and sort of the background and sky. And so you can turn this picture into a lot of things depending on where you want your emphasis to be.
Right. Yeah. I like how you made the people in the front pop out, and thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I just I'm looking at it back now, and to me the people are popping, but the sky's taking too much of my attention away. So there's too much of a sunsetty type thing. So I might bring down the saturation of the sky a little bit. And now the people are more of the emphasis. And the same thing in the middle ground. There's a little bit of color in the middle ground, and I can take some of that color away. Yeah, or even give it a very bluey type of dark evening sky in the distance. So I mean, that's what you want to do.
Thank you.
All right. So this looks like some sort of a candid shot, or they're trying to tell a story. And so I'm trying to figure out, as soon as there's words in a picture, people tend to try to read them. So collaborating for sustainability is kind of the message. And I'm looking, so, they're suggesting maybe we should, be better in terms of taking care of nature. There's a bicycle here. But then I see these legs that certainly don't fit in, and I'm going, okay, so what's the message? What am I trying to look at here? And I'm trying to, get a message. So I'm not sure if the maker is here. My thinking is some of this stuff is got nothing to do with the message or the person standing there. It's just kind of this ambiance type thing. So I'm tempted to just focus on the picture, and I think the message is in here somewhere, and this is what the person's trying to do.
So I didn't really have a message per se, and the fact that the wording is on the board is just it's just because it happens to be there. What I just thought was really kind of funny, I guess that's the only point I was coming from, was having someone be at a board looking. It's supposed to be looking at the board, but yet they're looking away. So I purposely had my partner look away from the board.
Gotcha.
So you're not seeing the front of the knees, you're seeing the back of the knees. I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. So the emphasis is the person here, right?
Yeah, that was the message right there. Yeah.
Whoops. And so, I mean, if the words were gone, I'm just experimenting here. No, that's too much.
By the way, this is more Lomo film. This is purple.
This is another one of these. It's got a texture to it too, of some sort.
Yeah, it does. It turns things turquoise but it turns foliage purple.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not sure if that's your photo. Anyways, the idea is to experiment or whatever. And if you want the emphasis to be on the person, then I mean you can do stuff to try to put the emphasis there in terms of vignetting or color contrast, that type of stuff. Sharpen the legs as opposed to keep the rest of it soft. I'm just playing with ideas here.
No, absolutely.
All right, so we must be in the O2s.
Yeah.
All right, so here we
That was
have,
actually also mine.
oh, here's another, well, actually, I should check this. Am I in, oops, G? They're in final name sequence. Okay, good. I thought for a moment, uh-oh, I'm going in the wrong sequence. Okay, we're into the O2s. There we go. And so this looks like another one of these trichromes. And I looked at, what's the emphasis? The people are certainly all colored, but, where things were static, such as the Eaton Center sign, etc., then, that has a little bit more of the normal tone to it, if you will, because the everything lines up. All three colors line up in the same places and nothing was moving. This billboard or something that's over here is kind of intriguing. It's got some funky colors, so I don't know if it was moving or changing or whatever. But anyways, so here again, the question is, what's the emphasis, and is that people or whatever? I took a shot at a separate crop. This was the original crop. Come on, there we go. So that was the original crop, and the emphasis I found, I wasn't focusing on the people, and I saw the Eaton Center and whatnot, so I took a shot at cropping it tightly. So the emphasis was on the tricolor and the people, and there's enough of the word Toronto here on the bus and the TTC sign that you could maybe still tell it was Toronto if that was important to the maker. So I was playing with some ideas, but again, the whole point is to see if you can, come up with different ways of telling your story, and pick the one that is the strongest.
Interesting. Yeah. So sorry.
Yep,
my emphasis on that one was just the busyness of Dundas Square.
Okay.
I was just trying to kind of take it all in. I think the only parts I might have taken out are across the top, and I'm seeing Gina's Square for some reason.
Yeah, the busyness, there's nothing busy about the top, unless it's
exactly.
a cluttering of sign.
So I might cut that out,
Yeah.
and then maybe even a little bit to the left. Yeah.
So, but you're starting to get some of the busyness and the blur. So when you take these, there's three individual shots. One of the question is, should each of these people be sharp, because they're moving from shot 1 to shot 2 to shot 3, but should they in turn be sharp, or should you take like a 15th of a second shutter speed and then have all of them blurred?
I think that's hard though when the filters are rather dark, right? I mean, even on a bright sunny day, your shutter is going to be a little bit slower than taking standard shot.
Yeah, so that already.
They're not always.
Okay, good point. Yeah, it's a technique I haven't experimented with, so.
I've been doing this. Has been a bit of a project of mine, and I've been doing it for over a year now, and I've learned so many things about it.
Well,
like composition has almost fallen to the wayside because of just doing the actual technique, and now I want to try and get back into the composition end of it and see what I'm missing.
Yeah, there you go. So you start with something new that distracts you for a while, and you got to bring it back into the fold. So okay, good.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so an interesting storytelling one. Don't hit me. Leave me alone. Go away. I don't know what they're saying here. So it's whoops. So an interesting little image. So I'm not sure what the story is. I don't think I played with it a whole lot. I kind of looked at it and I couldn't quite see the message. Again, it's important to make sure you're reasonably sharp. And here it is. The eyes are nice and crisp. There's a little bit of distraction on his lips, but that may presumably is not part of the story, but is something could be looked at. Has the maker got some comments on what they were trying to do here? Okay, there's a good separation between the subject and the background. I mean, the background's kind of soft, different colors, so everything, the emphasis is all on the boy. It's not on his eyes or face particularly. His hand is in an interesting or unusual position, and so it gets your attention. And because it's white hand against a dark red background, then it also gets a fair amount of visibility. So the picture, whoops, I wish it wouldn't do that. The picture keeps, there's a balance between the face and the hand, and the two of them kind of come together to tell a story. So, from that perspective, the image does work if that's what you're trying to get across. There's a bit of a logo here of somebody playing ball, but I don't know that makes any part of the picture. So you be careful when there's letters, logos, anything on people's clothes. People start to look at that. It's like the words that I mentioned earlier. People try to read words, and so if there's something there and you're trying to do a portrait of an executive or whatever, try to stay away from T-shirts and things that have logos or slogans unless they're important to the photo. All right, so at maybe a restaurant or a wedding, obviously the candle caught the maker's interest, and it's in this beautiful glass with lots of reflections going around. So powerful image. From the subject really stands out. It's very clear. It should be a white tablecloth, I assume, and everything else looks muddy or gray. So to me, I was wondering if the picture was a little bit too gray, too muddy. Certainly, a good job getting the candle light to stand out, but the rest of the light seems to be lacking. So, I mean, if you really, really are stuck, you could always sort of take one picture like this and another picture brighter and then blend them together and so on and so forth. But I don't think that was necessary. I played with it a little bit and just kind of brought out some of the colors. And, that gives it a little bit more of a daylight type feel, a little less somber in my mind. I retained the candle. I didn't try to blow that out. And what I tried to do is I just put a vignette on the overall thing, but instead of vignette being dark, it's a white vignette. So I brightened everything except for the center portion, and try to keep it so that it maintains sort of that overall look. Anything from the maker in terms of what the intention was? Okay, the composition's nice. I mean, you certainly have a lot of. It's centered, and you could try to see if maybe you could just focus it. If you just focused on that glass type of thing. But when I looked at that, I thought it lacked something. It's just a candle, and it doesn't have a story behind it. Whereas the doing this, it was like a candle at a wedding or a restaurant or a centerpiece or something. It told me more of a story, I thought. So I think I like the original composition and cropping. Oops, what happened there? I'm supposed to be here. There we go. All right, so picture of an open lake. Is this the original? Yeah. Okay, so the water's got some nice color to it. The snow's got a bluish tinge as well, and there's something happening in the sky here. So there's a foreground, a midground, a sort of a distance there, and so the whole thing looks very nice. It's got sort of a peaceful look to it. Had it been a little bit wider, like a little bit more of that horizontal look, maybe it would look even wider as well. But I don't know what was outside the frame and whether or not that was appropriate to include or not. You can certainly make it a little bit wider, take a little bit of the sky away, take a little bit of the foreground away, and try to make it a little bit more of a, I don't know if that would work or not. Whoops, go away. My mouse is being very, very, or my yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe. I don't know. Here, what jumps out at me is the pattern, the irregularity of this jagged line coming up to the top. So the emphasis is not on the sky anymore or anything that's that all that melted ice or whatever's in the near the top portion. So again, what's the emphasis? Is it is it the overall sort of it's cold type of image, or is it take a look at this wonderful pattern and take a look at this calm water? So I mean, you can play with it a couple of different ways. I tried brightening it a little bit more and putting a little bit more light in the center portion, because the center portion was actually kind of like didn't have a lot of impact. The front as well had a bit of a funky color. So I tried brightening it a little bit, but I'm always guessing what the maker is trying to get across and what they're trying to say. What I do like is almost over here, it almost looks closed. If you can, it's nice for your eye to be to travel, and then not drop out of the frame, but almost just follow it around so your eye comes around. So if you can get beach or whatever, and you can just get that little corner into your photo, that's that's powerful. But it's because of the way that this one's lit, it almost looks like it's there. So there's a little bit of a white patch there or something. I don't know what it is, but it certainly lets your eye sort of travel around, and it doesn't go straight out of the backdrop. Comments on this one?
Yeah, I had a hard time with the cropping. I did crop out the left because there was some stuff there that didn't look very good.
Okay.
And I did add in sort of the blue because it was very, very flat before.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, I was going for the pattern. I liked the edge of the ice, and it was the Ottawa River. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So if the pattern is what you're looking for, I mean, I'm just playing with you know, like, do we play with the sky? Do we get rid of the sky? That type of thing, you know.
I kind of wanted it not to look like Ottawa, so
Yeah.
as if you were in the Arctic or something. So I had to be
Yeah.
careful. On the top right, there might still be a few buildings. I was trying to block them as much as I could.
Very good. Yeah, and so that's an interesting question. You know, we talk about getting it right in camera, and getting it right in camera would mean not including buildings. But if I'm taking a picture and I see that there's a building here, and I don't want to crop it, you know, like all the way over here, because then I've got too much of a gap in the water, and I do want that circular. I don't mind going a little further and saying, okay, that building has to go when I get into Photoshop. So in my mind, right in camera means it is just the way I need it, so I can take it to the next step. So it's not like I'm finding the building afterwards and going, oh darn, I didn't notice that. I sometimes will deliberately place a building a certain way and make sure it's in my frame, and maybe it's right here and not right on the edge, so that it's easier to clone out and change. So I'm thinking in advance, okay, I'm going to take this photo, I'm going to do it this way, but that's going to go. Same thing if I take a picture of a portrait, and I have somebody over here, and you know, I position them a certain way, and if there's a wall switch behind her, I don't want the wall switch sticking out of her head. That's going to be very hard to clone with the hair. I'll make sure she's either standing in front of it and the wall switch is hidden, or the wall switch is completely visible and it's readily visible, you know, right in some very obvious place, and I can just clone it out very easily. So I will plan my subject to make sure that I'm ready to take the next step. And for me, that's getting it right in camera. It doesn't mean I have no post-processing to do. It means my post-processing is going to be dirt simple because I factored it into my composition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, so here's what probably is a Comic-Con type shot. Sort of a cosplayer, model, contestant, somebody with a very dangerous looking gun. So it looks like a good grab shot. I mean, certainly the subject stands out. She's clear, she's sharp, nice expression. I'm not even touching my keyboard, and it zooms in on me. I don't know what's going on. So the face looks a little bit overexposed for me, so I might have just toned that down a little bit. And again, it's a grab shot, so they did a good job of coming up with the camera angle, so you're looking down a little bit, so maybe there's other distractions and things that might not have been appropriate, and changing the angle sort of helped. But this little line in the background and this white gutter down here sort of I found a little distracting, so I just took a quick patch to that, and then I toned down the color as well. So all I did is I got rid of some of the distractions in the background very quickly, and just put a little bit of color and a little bit of lighter tone. Maybe that's a little too much still, and you might be able to, oops, what did I do here? Exposure, contrast, maybe a little bit less. Anyways, again, go have a coffee, come back, see if, you like something. So now that's probably a little bit better. Anyways, so this is kind of just some minor changes here just to get rid of some distractions and view the image. Comments from Boris? I assume this is Boris's.
Yep. No, I like what you did there. And it's like night and day when you see the two together.
Yeah. All right. Another city or urban landscape. So obviously the water was interesting here. What I like is that leading line, this rail just brings my eye right in, and then my eye goes across the bridge, and then I see the bank on the other side and the water. So my eye kind of just travels through this photo, and so they did a good job of leading lines. Your eye goes to the white area, so this kind of becomes my subject area. Over here is this bank as opposed to the water or something like that. But like it is what it is. The water is not bright, the snow is, so that's the case. But the other thing that catches your eye, if you remember when we were talking about the skiers, is oranges and reds, and then we got all of these little orange signs everywhere that are just kind of just pulling my eye away from traveling. So I went and sort of toned down some of the oranges, and this was a little on the dark side over here as well. There's a lot of blue snow here, so I think I brightened that a little bit. So I just did a little bit of toning, and I don't know if that might actually be too toned down. It loses some of that vibrancy, that mood. I'd have to almost warm it up again a little bit, give the whole thing a little bit of a color tone. And no, that's not working. And so let's try it with vibrancy. Oh, okay, I reduced the contrast. There, maybe that type of thing. Just give it a little bit more contrast. Anyways, I'm just playing with and here what I did is I just toned down some of those oranges. So if I go and there it is. If I remove that, there. So there's the orange, and so I just tried to play with the oranges, and I included the snow when maybe I shouldn't have. But I didn't know what else to play with this one, but certainly the composition elements worked for me, because it does flow my eye into the picture, and I mean, there's not much you can do. I mean, there's that this type of hogsback sign and whatnot in the background, but it's an urban landscape. There's going to be signs, so there's only so much you can do. Comments?
Well, you pretty much nailed what I was trying to do. It was that leading line of the railing that I was trying to get to the bridge. I just wasn't sure how to make it pop more, and so that's why I didn't think of the oranges. Get rid of the oranges on the signs. I did when I looked at it the first time. I didn't really notice it, but when you mentioned it, then it's like, oh yeah, it really catches the eye. And if I was to get rid of that, it would just help with it. So
yeah, so, I mean, you could take you can just take orange, as an overall and reduce the whole thing, but then you get you lose the trees.
Yeah, I do like the orange with the contrast of the blue of the water.
Yeah.
But the signs themselves, I think it does pull the eye too much, and I think I want to just emphasize those signs and just get rid of it. Yeah.
I mean, you can brush something. I can brush stuff around, and then intersect that. Come on. Intersect that with a color range and try to pick out just the orange. And now you've just got the oranges selected, and then just desaturate. Well, I obviously didn't intersect the right thing. There we go. Intersect with color range. Come on, color range. Okay, so do I have the right things? Maybe, sort of. Anyways, we'll got to play with it a little bit more. But all I'm trying to do is reduce the amount of orange that's in the photo. So there's a couple of different ways of doing it. Photoshop might be a little stronger tool, but I've learned to use Lightroom to maximum advantage, so I'm not bouncing back and forth between the two products. Okay, let's move on. Okay, nice moody shot here. I mean, there's depth, right, because of the fog. So the front is nice and sharp and crisp, and then you've got a mid ground with some trees popping up, and then everything else is fuzzy in the back. Then you've got this, this sort of foggy sky up ahead, and so on. So well seen, nice timing. The depth of field and everything is really good. It's intriguing. You've got a pattern type of thing going on. Patterns in terms of the way the reeds or weeds or something are lined up over here. The trees are lined up very nicely. And then there's just got one here that just breaks the pattern, and so my eye goes there, and it almost becomes sort of the focal point. So it's kind of neat to see that. There's either a dust spot or a bird flying or something up at the top here. So I'm tempted to just
Yeah, like I added a something called peeling paint.
Oh yeah, okay.
For this, so that's probably part of the peeling paint from Topaz Studio.
Yeah.
It's a filter on Topaz Studio, so that's why the sky was pretty actually flat.
Okay.
And when I peeling paint on top, it kind of made it that kind of a more moody.
Whoops. Yeah. So it gave you a textured sky.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Okay. So so if it gives you a texture and it's layers, then sometimes what I do is I take the texture and I clean it up. So I clone the texture rather than cloning the final product. So that way I control where I want the texture and where I don't want it. So I don't know that I played with this a whole lot. I think I gave it a little bit more sort of punch, and it's a different mood. So it's not necessarily better, but it just kind of it played with your textures a little bit more and made the trees in the front pop a little bit more. But I mean, it's a question of how did you want the viewer to feel, and so composition's about getting the viewer to see what you want to see and let their eye flow through the picture the way you want them to flow their eye, and then the coloring and the mood and the tone and the amount of contrast and whatnot is how do you want the person to feel. So all of that's trying to project sort of your feelings and your impressions over to your viewer. So if you were excited about a picture or you were sort of awed by the serenity, then that has to be what comes across. So good job in selecting some textures and whatnot, and hopefully it's giving you the way what you want to do. I just tried to play with different impressions, but there's no right or wrong here.
That was that really rainy winter day it was a Saturday, I think, and it was raining and it got really foggy.
Yeah.
In the afternoon.
Well, kudos for going out in that weather.
I almost didn't, but I thought no, because I love taking pictures in the fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was down Riddell towards the Ottawa River.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just stopping on the side of the road and taking a picture out the window of the car. Like I wasn't getting out because it was raining.
So I'm looking at this f/18, so lots of depth of field here, and an ISO 1600. Yeah. So yeah, don't be afraid to push your ISO, folks. I mean, our digital cameras nowadays are doing a much better job than they used to. So, I have no problems with 3200 and 6400 on some of my cameras. Okay, whoops, we're going the wrong way here. There we go. All right, so a very creative still life. Some really neat stuff here. Very formal composition. The way in which the colors interact is kind of neat. The maker took a lot of time to make sure that everything was sort of level and put down, and sort of all the glasses are at the same level. Interestingly enough, still lifes are a lot of work even before you start to take a picture, because you've got to position everything and plan everything and get the lighting just the way you want, and so on and so forth. So, what was the intention here by the maker, if they're around? No, okay. So, yeah, so because this was very formal symmetry, I looked at it, and my eye kept going to the green on the far left, and it's almost like the green's a little bit brighter than the others. So, and that just may be because the color green just resonates more, and where the filter that they used was a little bit lighter than the blue one or whatever. So I'm not sure what the situation was. But so I thought, gee, if I want this to maintain the symmetry, I went and I played with the toning. I selected the green and started toning it down a little bit. So I made the middle blue a little bit brighter and made the green a little bit less bright. So this is kind of like a more even color tonality across all three. And this was the original. So and I find the green just a little bit brighter. So that was the only thing I could think of doing with this, because the rest was done by the maker, and it's very creative and very original. I don't know what this thing is that it's in the. I think there might have been a light underneath each one, and then this reflection is a reflection of the light underneath. I'm not sure what they did, but fun stuff to do when it's rainy and you don't want to go outside. Okay, a little shot of the NAC, so a little bit of a cityscape, and I think what caught the maker's eye was the vibrancy of the sign that was outside. And these are always tricky, because what you're doing is you're taking a picture of someone else's art. So you know, is it a record shot and you're trying to capture something that, you know, of something you saw and you want to share with someone else, or is it a situation where you want to, you know, put your own interpretation on the whole thing? So I wasn't sure what the intention was here. Certainly this dirty snow that's in the front here, just I don't think it's part of the picture, so my tendency is to crop it out. And because it's architectural and architectural, you know, your camera's tilted up and you know, you're holding it sideways, whatever. I wanted to square this up, so I use the transform tool that's here to square this stuff up. And did I have a snapshot on this one? Hang on a second. Oh, I don't see a snapshot. Darn. Okay, I must not have saved it. All right, so I will just do this super quick. There. Yeah. Okay, I got this silly one over here. Let me just update this. Come on. Delete. I got a silly one there I don't want. There we go. All right, so I'm only allowed 4 lines, I think. 1, 2, and I'm doing this super quick. 3, and that's even good enough. And then what I'll do is I'll just bring this down, bring this over here, get rid of some of that light. And I want to keep the NAC type concept. So I want to do something like that. So now the emphasis is on the photo and the art form. I can still see it's the NAC. This burst of snow that's there is no longer a factor. And if I wanted to, I could take a brush and paint the snow, you know, a little bit darker or something like that. Reset and just reduce the exposure of this thing. You know, make it a little bit more of a dark type of thing. And just anyway, so it gives you an idea of some of the things that we can do. And and the way I was doing my presets earlier, I would just say Control N, and I would just say test or give it a name of some sort. And so these are the snapshots that I was using. So I could just there we go. And so there's kind of like before and after type of thing after you straighten it. Okay. Oh, fun shot. Spiderweb, maybe. I don't know what this was exactly, but it's got impact. It's crisp. All the white dots, water droplets, whatever, jump out at you, and there's an interesting center spot which is different from all the others, which obviously becomes the focus of attention. So I'm not sure what this was, but I look at it and I'm going, like, wow. I mean, it's really neat. It's I'm not sure I'd crop it anymore. There's an open area in the top right, but somehow it provides sort of a locale for the rest of it, so you can kind of see that there's something happening in the background, but it positions the rest of it. I'm not sure if the maker is here. I'd be curious to know what the heck this was.
Yeah, it's Pavey. It is a spider web.
What's in the
Early
center?
morning dew or mist on
Yeah.
it. I actually was trying to use my macro lens to get some kind of image in that large dewdrop, but it didn't really work out. But I thought the image was kind of cool with all the other little dewdrops around it.
Oh yeah, it's super pattern shot. So I think I added a little bit of clarity or texture to the thing, but other than that, I mean, there's very successfully done. And what was your f11? Okay, 1600. So even at f11, you got sufficient depth of field here to keep the dewdrops pretty much sharp. They go out of sharp just at the top here a little bit, but
and in the corner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, true. The corner as well, but
Yeah.
no. So yeah, fun shot indeed. Yeah, kudos.
Yeah, it was fun to take. Thanks.
Okay, so I think the image here is the turbulence of the water, sort of the splashing, maybe the permanence of the stone, that type of thing. So certainly there's a center of interest, and there's some interesting texture with the water rushing around the rock and that type of thing. So I think that the question here is, do you want to put the emphasis on the rock and its texture, or the emphasis on the water and its texture? So what is it that you're going to sharpen, if anything, and what are you going to make sure that is got the attention? This area over here looks a little bit overexposed, sort of in terms of the water, so there's a lot less of interest in that type of thing. I'm not sure what I did with this one. Okay, I took the emphasis on the rock and brushed a little bit of white into the tops of the waves, the crests, just so that they contrasted nicely. But again, unless the maker's here and has some comments, I'm not sure where the emphasis was supposed to go. But I tried to give the picture just a little bit more impact. Okay. All right, another nature shot. So like the last one, the bird is nicely set aside from the background. It's centered, and some of the branches almost frame it. So there's a branch to the top, down to the bottom. There's some other stuff over here. I mean, there's a little intersection with the tail here, but gosh, hey birdie, can you move 2.5 centimeters this way or that way? Like, it just doesn't happen. You're lucky if they stay there long enough for you to take the picture. So yeah, and it's not at rest. The wings a little bit moving, or it's about to take off, or just landed, or whatever. So that gives it a little bit extra kind of je ne sais quoi. It's a lot less static type shot. So that's kind of neat. Comments from the maker on this one?
That's me again.
Yeah.
And I also, this one also has the peeling paint added to it.
The what?
The peeling paint.
Oh,
overlay.
right, okay. Well, I see a lot less texture here.
Yeah, I toned it down, like there's a slider for it,
Yeah.
so I just put a little bit on top just to give it.
You know what? That explains some of the thing. One of the things I couldn't quite figure out
Oh,
was the cap of the bird. And I'm
yeah,
going, what is that? Something's happening at the top of its head, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
yeah,
Yeah, so I found that a little distracting.
yeah,
So I don't know if you can kind of
yeah. I
clone
could
that out
probably
or tone down.
play the original on it and
Yeah,
get rid of it. Yeah,
yeah. So that type of thing. So other than that, I don't know that I did a whole lot. I played with the mood a little bit. A little bit more colorful as opposed to less moody, but it's a different picture, you know. So that's the question is what do you want to achieve? The other thing I ended up doing is that little berry right near the top. It looked like it was going to fall on him or something. I
yeah,
found that little berry just, yeah, I didn't need it.
yeah.
So I was just playing with that. Uh, Other than that, I like, wow. I mean, you're just in the right place, and the cap of the bird, that little thing on the
Yeah,
head. I play with that a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you've got it. You've got your technique down. I mean, look how sharp those claws are, and the feathers and so on. So your technique of finding the right focus so quickly is good. All right. So what are we doing on time here? It's 1:45. We're into the threes. This is our first 03 one. I don't want to go over. How many more do we have to do? So we've done 30, and we have 27 left to go. Definitely aren't going to do them all. Is somebody dying for feedback on a particular image that hasn't been covered? We're good? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really speed up here a little bit, and we won't do a lot of comments on the images. Instead, we'll just talk very quickly to as many as I can, and then we'll wrap up. So a couple of ducks walking, and they're certainly the center of attention. I like that the lines, that are being created by the duck, whoops, are sort of giving us something to follow in terms of lines, and those lines kind of match where this tree is going. So this guy is a little bit of distracting over here in the bottom right, and there's lines that take us away from the picture, right? These footprints that go across. So I think I just took some of those footprints away and brightened up the photo a little bit, and took away the distracting, branch at the bottom. So that was kind of the idea here. So there's kind of a before and after, and you guys decide whether you like it, you don't like it. It's again, it's all interpretation. This struck me as a architecture shot, maybe a record shot, maybe important church to somebody. With architecture, it's important to get it straight. So use your transformation tools to make sure that you get things lined up. So that's pretty much all I did here. Is I just kind of straightened the church a little bit, and just gave it a little bit more punch. Some clarity and texture on buildings usually looks pretty good.
Mike, just for a quick second there, I know you're going fast, but on that church one, the only reason why I submitted it is because I want to know if you noticed all the changes that I made to it. Like I took a lot of stuff out, I cloned a lot, I straightened a lot. So I wasn't sure. I wanted to know if I was doing it right.
Well, nothing jumped out at me as, oh, she cloned this, she did that. This was obviously doctored in Photoshop, so none of that came through.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
So I don't look at it and say, oh, what happened here? This doesn't look like it was original. So if there were, I don't know, cigarette butts on the on the landing, or
there was a huge shadow from the lamp that was let down on the door, and the all of the fence didn't line up because I attached an entire new bottom to it. I'd done a lot of things to it, so that's why I was really wanting to know if you'd noticed anything that I had done to it.
It passed the test.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't look at it and say what's going on here. So if some of the railing was cloned in or something like that, it doesn't come across to me. I don't see it. So whatever you did,
awesome.
And I remember my father-in-law, worked on a farm, and he'd spend hours and hours doing something like building a piece of furniture or repairing a wall or whatever, and we'd come in and we wouldn't notice. He'd say, "That's how you know you did a good job. Is everyone thinks
Excellent.
that's the way it was." and his wife was a seamstress, and she says the worst compliment you can give me is, "Did you make that yourself?"
Oh.
You never want to ask somebody if they made it themselves. That's kind of a hint that maybe it looks like it's homemade.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so a really nice shot here. Don't know if it's posed or candid or whatever, but I mean the lighting and everything just really looks really good. What I did when I looked at this is I said, gee, what's the emphasis? And the smoke gives it mood, but the smoke's probably not the subject. So you want to turn around and make sure that you're focusing more on the person. So I brightened his face a little bit, and then the smoke at the top was just like running out of the photo. So my eye ran out of the photo. So I kind of put a little bit of vignette in there, made the photo, the smoke kind of stay contained, and put a little bit more contrast in there, and tried to brighten his face a little bit. Now there's a little bit of this is 100%, so it's really teeny. So there's something happening on his face here, and I wasn't going to go ahead and clean it up. But if you look how pixelated that thing is. So I just, there wasn't enough here for me to go ahead and play with it. But certainly an amazing photo. Kudos to the maker. And I have one of these in my studio as well. So before I do a shoot, I'll put my little thing in the studio, set up my studio lights, get everything set, and then when mom and her baby walk into my studio, I'm not using up the precious little attention span that a youngster has to set up my ISO and my lighting and whatnot. It's all been done ahead of time, so it's good. So somebody's been testing some lighting here and that type of thing. I didn't know what you did. Sorry?
I was trying to get a white background and shoot the face with a white background.
Okay. So in fact, your original background is not super white. And you'll see I made it, here's a little bit whiter. Look at the bottom. And so the magic is when you're doing a white background, light your background separately from your subject. So,
I did that.
Okay. So your background is lit. Look at the top on your original. Your background, if I look at your light here, 93, 93, 93, and if I come down to the bottom, I'm looking at 90, 89, and 80, 89 type of thing. So there's more light at the top than at the bottom. However you set up your light, it's not even.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just and these are good things to do in terms of studio technique. And I also take my background light, and if I want the background to be really white, then I will in fact overexpose my background, but just a little bit. I don't want my background to be its own light source and start to come through the hair and start sort of creating a glow or whatever. So I'm looking to and so now my background is pure white. I mean I could go all the way here and now it's definitely overblown everywhere, and your face is actually your subject lighting is perfect. Okay, it's just your background. What if I take the mask away? your background's not pure white, so it's a little bit of fall off, and if that's what you want, that's great. Some people don't like a white background. For instance, if I go to put this on a website and it's on a white page, all of a sudden the white and the white page behind it are identical, and unless you put a key line around it or something like that, what ends up happening is this face ends up floating on the website. You can't see the edges of the photo. So some people don't have a pure white background, so that when you put it on a pure white page, you can actually see a little bit where the photo starts and ends. Just a publication type of stuff. I didn't do a whole lot with this one. I wasn't sure what the center of interest is. Again, remember that yellow water type thing we had in some of the shots. So I didn't play with this one a whole lot. Just be very clear on what your subject is. Is it the texture of the ice? Is it the water? Is it the contrast between the water and the ice? So be very clear and specific on where you want. There's no resting spot here. I don't know where my eyes should land or stop. My eye doesn't flow anywhere. It just kind of wanders around and going, what am I looking at? So be a little more careful in your subject selection. This is very deliberate by contrast. I mean, my eye goes right to that pop of orange in the middle, and from there it travels up to the rock, and then the rock comes to a point, and then I follow a white line across and then back down and through the bottom of the picture. So my eye just travels through this photo, and it's done very well. I'm not sure if I did a whole lot to this one. I think I may just put some color up or something like that. But yeah, I gave it a little bit of clarity and punch, but I don't know if that's really necessary. I mean, sometimes it's too much. I just gave it a little bit more pop. The original, I think, has a little bit more of a moody softness, serenity to it. The other one is more of a visual graphic grabber. So decide what you want, but it's this is a high graphic image, projection on a model type of image. So I liked the concept. The white on the background looks different from the white on her skin, and so you got to decide whether or not you want that yellowy tinge in there. So I tried different sort of styles. I went to maybe a sort of a remove some of the yellow, so the white on her skin and the white on the background were matched. Then I tried giving the white on the background the same tint as the white on the skin to see if I like that better. So again, experiment, try to decide what you want. Don't always accept whatever the camera gave you, and you'll be able to present whatever it is you're thinking you're presenting. Super successful photo. I mean, that's you got his attention. He's sharp. You've got texture in the snow, and shooting snow is always tough because you got to get the exposure just right. Too much and it looks like gray, muddy snow, and too white, and you lose all the detail. In this case, the depth of field. What is the depth of field in this one? Is it? No, I don't have it. So anyways, enough depth of field so that the rabbit's sharp, but so are the branches behind it. The only thing I thought of doing is maybe softening the branches behind there, and maybe putting them in a little bit of a fog, so there's a little bit of more separation between the rabbit and the background. But again, you want to leave the detail there, and I took some of the detail in the foreground away, so the emphasis was centered of the image and whatever. But I could have left that alone. I'm not sure what I did to really improve the picture. It's just a different version of the picture is what that is. Urban landscape. This is a typical type of situation here where I think the image is all on the bottom, and I'm looking at the sky, and there's nothing special about the sky. The tendency, I think, is to take in too much sky, and so I added some color and played with it a little bit, and gave the city a little bit more pop, and the sky a little bit more. But still, I thought maybe the right solution was just to focus on the city, and to me, this has a lot more impact than adding the sky. The sky just dilutes the picture as opposed to strengthens it. And so here, I just thought the cropping would be the best way to go. Stunning photo. I mean, look at that. Everything's contained in the frame. Nothing runs out. So the line, the eye comes into the frame and then leads you to the bird, or your eye starts over here and leads you to the bird somehow. But everything leads you to that bird, and your eye just stays in the frame, and the bird is the center point. So super. And I have no idea if these snowflakes were added afterwards or they were part of the real thing. Doesn't matter. It's successful. And I bumped up the color a little bit and gave it a little bit more punch, and it's a different mood. Because it's a bird, happy, pretty. I thought darker was a little bit more sort of moody, melancholy, and I thought maybe a little bit more color, a little more punch would give it a different mood all of a sudden. Is kind of what I was thinking of. So. Your choice. Here again, what's the subject? Whoops. So I thought the arch was really the subject here, and it's high up, it's on a mountain, it's majestic, etc. The tree in front of it is important in that it gives you a foreground and it shows how high the tree is, but I wasn't sure there was as much as I needed. So I gave it a little bit of punch, and then I tried a different crop. And tried to see if maybe I could still retain some of the foreground and the sense that it's hiding behind something, etc. But again, I was experimenting. Yeah. Oh gosh. So another one of these really neat shots. I guess some sort of freezing rain on the trees. Sorry?
It's infrared.
Infrared. Ah, okay. So, but somehow I looked at it and I thought, gee, I like the mood, I like the texture. So this isn't freezing rain on the trees, I guess?
It had snowed, so they had some ice. It wasn't freezing rain, but that's the beaver pond. And that moon or sun, whatever you want to call it, was actually a flare, and I just turned it into a moon.
Well done. So I mean, this is cool. So because it's all trees and whatnot, I was a little distracted by some of the signs that were here and this machinery that's over here, whatever, snowblower or something. So I took a shot at getting rid of some of that stuff, and I tried a different mood in terms of color or whatever, just for the sake of trying something different. I sometimes just open up my my presets, and I just try different ones, and I just is there anything here that I like, and I just try different ones, and sometimes I'll hit something and I'll go, oh, this is cool, and I'll change now that I've found a mood that I like, I'll go ahead and I'll start playing with the tones and makes things darker and make things lighter now that I've landed on something. But I'll often just play around with things just to see what I get. So fun shot, type of thing you might get on family vacations or whatever. So I mean, most of these tend to be record shots. They're not meant to be competition shots. But I mean, you've got slippers over here that are kind of, are they important to the shot? You've got a distraction to the top right, some sort of, the sand or something, dirt. You've got something in the sand over here. You've got a shadow that doesn't really belong. So anyways, I mean, you can play with these things, till the cows come home. I didn't do a whole lot other than crop in a little bit and got rid of the slippers and the distraction near the top. And that just becomes, a slightly different picture that gives me a sort of an impression of what's going on, but at the same time is a little tighter. Come on, click. There we go. So cool portrait type thing. Somebody's out there sort of having fun. And I mean, his attention's on the camera. His buddy or brother or whatever that is. Whoops, don't click. Is in the background, so it's suitably out of focus that it doesn't really grab your attention, but at the same time, you can tell what it is. It's not sort of so blurry. The background's a little bright. I don't know if we want it that bright or not. It's part of the ambiance. I think I tried playing with it and reducing the background a little bit. Crame in, cropped a little bit. since the leaves are on the ground or fall oriented, I gave it a little bit more of a fall look, fall touch. So, I mean, you choose whether you like the bright background or the darker background, and whether or not you like the tighter crop or not. So, in any case, so we'll finish with this very last one here. Sort of a out in the field type of thing. I think the cow is the center of attention, but the sky certainly is very dramatic as well. So I was trying to figure out, what the emphasis was. So what I tried to do in this particular case is, if the cow's the center of attention, I put a little more emphasis on the cow and tried not to get rid of the overall sky, but there's a lot of it. So if the cow's the attention, then there's probably too much. So I just played with the coloring of the cow, and you'll see that it's just got a little bit more punch. It comes out, it's almost like the sun's hitting it. So it's got a little bit more punch, and then I tried a crop version of that. And so the cow is still the center of attention, but there's a lot less sky and whatnot behind it. So there's an overall, and then here's a, and there's a little axiom, and these are pretty small. I think was the 100% on this one. Yeah, so this was the original size of the photo. So I didn't have a lot to work with, but yeah, if you guys are going to do more of these critique things, just send me large images. I'll remember to put that in the write-up next time, because that's pretty important to have. And the other thing is, yeah, feel free to experiment. I love the sort of the trichrome stuff and infrared, and like, you guys are doing some really cool stuff. So that's kind of neat. So keep that up, experiment, and kudos to the people who go out in the winter and the snow and the freezing rain to get those exceptional shots. It's nice to have that included in our sort of set. So, any questions before we wrap up?
Not so much a question as a comment. Thank you very much for your time, and your feedback is excellent. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Thanks, Mike. Good perspective. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Good. Yeah. All right.
I echo her comments. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Yeah. Should we do a lot more of these, or like?
Yes.
I didn't get that many submissions. We got more than I could go through, but it was from a relatively small number of people relative to the number who attended.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
To answer your question, yeah, I'm all for doing more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously it's a time factor, but I always get nervous about what to submit. Like I'm always like, oh, what should I put in? What should I put in?
Yeah.
I never know.
and the stuff that you really love and you want to share with people, you don't need critiques on that. You already love it. so submit the stuff that you're going, I don't know about this. What should I do with it?
Honestly, what I did submit to you was stuff that I have submitted in contests or whatever, if you will, other critiques. And I want to know if I'm going to get any kind of a feedback from anybody. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm probably going to land where I thought I was going to land.
Sounds good. Okay, folks. Everybody have a great evening. Hopefully the snow didn't bog everybody down, and you had a chance to shovel out from whatever it is you're buried under. And enjoy your day, and we'll catch you at the next meetup.
Thank you, Mike.